My name is Jared Williams. I'm one of the co-founders of Lion's Jaw Performance and Dance Festival. And we have a wonderful cohort here in this Zoom conversation. We are in this big learning curve together right now as we all learn how to sort of teach and, move our practices into a new space. And Marion Spencer and myself and the folks at Freeskewl have all been in discussions, as many people have over the past couple of weeks, about where the wisdom is right now to help us make these transitions. And Michelle Boulé came up right away for all of us because she has a really thriving online practice and is such a wonderful teacher in person, but also online. So we reached out right away and Michelle was willing to give us some time. So I don't want to spend too much time with this part, but maybe we could do a quick check-in, just name, pronoun if you feel like it, and where you are location-wise in the Zoom channel. And then we'll hand it over to questions. Again, my name is Jared Williams, and I'm in Boston, and he, him is good for me.
I'll go next. I'm Michelle Boule. She, her is good for me. And right now I am in Silver Lake, Los Angeles, in my friend, amazing sculptor, Jared Beck's home.
I'll go next. My name is Marion Spencer. I use she, her, and right now I'm in my bedroom in Brooklyn, New York.
Jenna, you want to go?
Yeah, I'm Jenna Pollack, she, her, and I'm in Boston.
My name's Jamine Hearn. I'm in Metuchen, New Jersey, and I use she, her, as well as they, them.
Ani Javian, she, her, and in Metuchen.
Hi, Jennifer Nugent, she, her, in Brooklyn, New York.
Does that leave me?
That's you.
Hi, I'm Anna Maynard. I'm in Western Mass, and I use she, her, and also just my name as my pronoun. Thanks.
I'm Sofia Engelman, also in Northampton, Mass. She or they.
Okay, wonderful.
So
Thanks,
we thought
everyone.
that,
No.
So we thought that we would begin this conversation by asking you, Michelle, how this process of moving your work from in-person to online began. Just sort of what was the catalyst of that process for you, how it began, what made you do it, and then also what was gained from it, and perhaps if anything felt lost in the practice, what was lost, but just
Sure.
sort of what the inception was.
Okay, so just to like make things clear, a lot of this came from the fact that I have been a body talk practitioner for 13 years now. And that's a form of mind-body energy medicine, which works on the level of consciousness. And I think it's important to say this because even though we're working with physical bodies all the time, we are working on the level of consciousness. So I think that feels like the most important thing I can say tonight in terms of how you share space with each other. Just for what I did, I knew I had a traveling lifestyle and I knew I wanted to be able to continue the work I was doing. And I really believe that if you can envision something, if you can imagine it up, the reality to make it happen is there, or the means to make that reality happen exists. So I was very inspired by a woman named Marie Forleo. She has something called B School, Marie Forleo, Forleo. And she helps people set up online businesses to help change the world. And she's a really beautiful person, and I think it took, I had to go over a little hump of resistance there too, because I was like, oh, this is too fancy. This is too, like we're artists. We look at aesthetics all the time, and like aesthetic becomes an entry point. It's like, I accept you or I don't, so I was like, look at the message this woman is delivering. So I I signed up for B-School, and I went through her process of like, I'm going to make a scholarship video. It's going to send me through my own process. And like also the tactics behind that. It's like, she makes a scholarship video that spreads the word. It's like, you're a good virus. It's everything is growing. Like that's a law of the universe. Everything continues to grow. Like life supports more life. So I think what's key is, for me, it was like, okay, and I'm still figuring it out. Like, what is the thing I'm here to do? What is the vision I have? And how can I let that continue to expand? And it has required me to step out, continually step out many of my comfort zones on various different levels. So let me see if I can speak more logistically. I had a WordPress blog some years ago, and that was just like, okay, how can I build my client base? And this may change again in 5 years. So I had all my teaching. It's like I had my classes I was teaching. I want to develop my body talk practice. You get people on your email list. You have to find a way to stay connected. And if your belief systems come up and say, well, it'll be too much, I'll be bothering people, someone's going to unsubscribe. Yes, they will. That'll happen. Like if you want to put yourself out there in a bigger way, you're becoming more public, and you are, just know that as you do that, you'll get more lovers and more haters. That's kind of, it's just, I think that's kind of like a way to really blow it out big, but it's like also in your artistic practice. It's people will join you for your ride, and it's not good or bad, and people will leave. So I built up, I heard a doorbell. I built up my email list. I just did my own, I did B-School. I did my own research on how to use MailChimp, and like regularity of showing up. We all know that. Like, so you gotta tell people, hey, I'm here. Hey, I'm here. And hey, I'm here to serve you. And I think that's something we can really hold in like high value right now. People need to remember how to be in their bodies, whether it's dancers or other people, your Pilates clients or your yoga clients. And I think people will be craving it so deeply after this is over. So build your list, make yourself public. And then I just had to keep taking next steps. Okay, I need to actually have a website designed. I can't do all this on my own. So I chose, again, I imagined it. I envisioned it. I met with some people. I just like, oh, I like this person's website. Let me talk to them. I met with those people. It was a bigger number than I was expecting, but I was like, okay, I know this is what I want to do. I'm going to invest in this. And I think what we need to do is just keep educating ourselves as to how this stuff works, as to how the world works. So because we will, I said this, I think, in my free Meditate, Move, Heal, like when we try to expand out of a pattern, we know your subconscious is going to kick in and say, hell no, stop doing that. It will come through like a judgment you hear from someone else. It will come from your dog starts to get sick. You'll I've done this so many times. Like I'm like ready to go into something, and then I'm packing and I spill my spices all over my suitcase because I travel with spices, people. It's just like, and then I can see, ooh, what was happening right there? What? Like I was trying, it's when we grow and expand, it's something is going to pull you back. So that's where you hold that vision really clearly in front of you. And you have to decide, I want this bad enough, and make sure it's aligned with your truth, because that's a whole process too. We will do things that are not aligned with our truth to fill holes in our hearts, and that will backfire. We will wear ourselves out. We will associate with the wrong people. We'll get in the wrong relationship. Am I covering the topic? So, if this is, it's a moment we're being asked to expand. And I could say, I'm happy to speak more to how I see this fits with artists too, because I think it can be tricky for us. I'll just leave it at that. And maybe did I answer that question clearly enough, Marion? Is there more?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think a follow-up that I might ask as well is how did that process look in terms of your class or your leading a movement practice into online. Something I love about taking your class in person is how well you hold space and how there feels like a real sense of community, and would be interested to hear you speak to how you seemingly like seamlessly transitioned that to your online classes.
Sure. Yeah. And I want to just iterate again, it's primarily healing and coaching that I do online. But what I said at the get-go, that we're working on a level of consciousness. And what came to me this morning and thinking about this was, I also talk a lot in my class. I don't think that's entirely necessary, but I remember years ago where I was like, oh, I can just sit here on the side and talk my class. But if those words are coming from, like, talk my class, meaning deliver it through language, if those words are really coming from a true resonance vibration, I could sit there for 30 minutes and I would stand up and I would feel, if we're doing stuff on the floor, I would feel just as open as everybody else. Or I can't say that. Actually, I would feel that my body transformed through entering a state of consciousness. In terms of like how you like lead a class, and there's people who can speak to that better than I can, because there's people leading classes now, like you send a YouTube file to everyone and they play it at the same time because the sound stuff with Zoom isn't figured out. Or you're training your eyes to look at a screen differently because you have a gallery in front of you of people like in all these different backgrounds, which is amazing. It's so much more information than being in Eden's Expressway, the dance studio, looking at people. So I think what some of my classes, what I would do is just like, okay, people, acknowledge you're in this room. Like, we have to acknowledge that this is a different reality. And I know from like doing my online yoga classes that I do, I can tell I'm like zoomed into the screen. I start to lose this embodied perspective of the rest of the room. So I think that's just like a tool to keep reminding ourselves of, okay, I'm here. I think we can transition people from like, we're coming into the screen and then we're going to say goodbye and you're going to be in your room. I'm sure everyone can come up with tools to transition people into that space. The thing about online spaces too, is you have the opportunity to continue conversations, through comments and chat. So if stuff comes up following, like we're making this up, this is new. And we thank God we have the capacity to continue to just connect and learn as we do this. I'm not gonna, in this little bedroom that I'm in right now, I'm not gonna make a phrase across the floor. It's like, do it in a circle. It's just gonna be different. It's gonna be different. And this is a pause. I think it's temporary, but what a cool thing that people are given an opportunity to actually access more people. And what better people than dancers to help create change in the world. We know truth in our bodies. I think we all are. If you're on this call, you probably are resonating with that in some way. There's an alignment there that we understand. We understand it through relationship. We understand through creativity. It's going to make me cry. That I think is really essential for us to support each other as we go through these trips and falls to help each other expand.
Nice. Does anybody on this actual Zoom conversation have questions? Because there are some questions that are coming in online, but we can also spend a few more minutes here.
I have a question. I don't even know if it's a fully formed question, but in regards to boundaries and keeping, ways to establish boundaries with yourself and also those that you're offering or facilitating space for, just as ways to be healthy, and be respectful.
Can you say a little more about your question and how it relates? I mean, I can speak, but I feel like there's something more that maybe wants to, what are you worried about or what are you afraid of?
I mean, I feel as though because of the way that technology allows, I don't know, I'll speak from my own experience, having access to more, possibly. Ways to, yeah, I'm just wondering if you have any like specific rules or boundaries that you've articulated to keep yourself just a little bit more safe or sane, or yeah.
Yeah, the boundary is your own boundary of self-love. So it doesn't matter what anyone else says. But in terms of boundaries of like holding a container, you know, I have my courses are set up when they're dealing with healing so that only the people in the courses can participate. And I just looked over my terms and conditions the other day. I don't remember. I'm just going to make a note of that about confidentiality. You know, you will be more public. And like I was saying earlier, you'll be exposed to more and more lovers and more haters. So that's where you just have to say, this is who I am and this is what I do, and love on that big time, and love on that part of you that feels really vulnerable as you do that. And you don't have to be teaching 1,000 people, you know, but you know, the sort of amazing push in what can happen through social media and all this public work is that we can either succumb to like, okay, everyone else has to behave in a certain way, so I feel okay. Or I really can bolster and foster myself and my own self-worth and my own self-love, that the stuff that comes at me doesn't matter. And you can see that a person, if you're talking about attack, Jasmine, maybe you can be more specific. When someone attacks, you see that it's coming out of their own fear, confusion. And that's just my belief. I believe I think we're all seeking love and we're all seeking connection. I think connection is an act of love, and the attacks will come, and you just have to tend to yourself in the ways that you do. Like Byron Katie, who I just studied with 2 weeks ago, she says, defense is the first act in war. So usually when we're defending some part of ourselves that doesn't believe in there's a hole there. We don't believe in our own self-worth. It's like when you open your heart up and you'll find your strength is there. And then tend to the part of yourself that is afraid. Logistically, Jasmine, is there something I'm missing in there for you?
Not at all. You definitely address, yeah, what I would.
Okay. I think I just to say one more thing, if depending on the material you're working with, you can set up agreements. But I think if we run around also afraid of what we're doing, like even for me today to do essentially a body talk healing session live on Facebook and make that public, or just make everything on my page, starting to make that public, and that was a choice. I said this at the start of the call, like I had that nervousness. I had to go to the bathroom, like before you go on the stage. I was like, I gotta go evacuate over and over and over. Because now people are gonna see who I am. Oh shit, sorry, this is who I am. You know, what a great gift we have to be able to do that right now and to support other people. And I always say this, and I don't know if I've said this in a class you've been in, we gotta honor our timing. You don't have to go out and be public tomorrow. Take your time. You're welcome, Tyler Ray. What else?
Anyone else from the gallery here?
Look at these.
Question, Michelle, about how you navigate the individual versus the group in your sessions.
Okay.
There were 300 people on this free call that you did the other day, and sure. I just led my first class that had 31 students in it for the university that I teach at, and so yeah, I was really like, we had individuals chiming in on the chat bar, but we asked them to mute their microphones really, and we couldn't see them. It wasn't video, so yeah, anything you have on individual versus the group.
Okay. I just want to stop here for a second to say that Tyler Ray said there's feedback with Michelle. If it is possible to have questions audible via Freeskewl, then mute when Michelle answers. You got that?
I think that's what I'm working on right now.
Okay, cool.
And also, can I ask one more question? Do you
Sure.
mind repeating the questions that are asked for the live? I don't know
Okay.
if you can hear people talking.
Okay. Oh, yeah. I guess I'd have to, maybe if I unplug, should I try unplugging?
No, I think if you just repeat the question.
Okay, so this is going to
Before
be
you
good
talk.
practice for me to repeat this, and then you can fill me in if I it's just, what is the balance between working with the individual and the group? Essentially, that's I hear that's what it is. I think you make a decision before you go into the class. Like that was the first time on last Tuesday that I led a class where I had chat coming up, but I didn't. Usually what I do in my online classes is I bring someone in, like in the coaching healing, I call it the hot seat. So that person gets worked on in front of everybody. And you can do the same thing in a dance class. It's like, we're going to work on you, and everyone gets to look. And what it brings up for me too, and maybe this kind of relates to Jasmine's question, is you can set up the rules of your space and ask people to agree to these rules. Like when someone else is, or you know, you can still ask, like, with respect, maybe, what if we don't text during this call? What if, you know, you don't do your dishes in the middle of this dance class? Unless you're open to that. Times are changing, you know, but that's how I think what's beautiful, at least in how I've been, let me scroll these. Okay, it looks like it's fixed better. What's beautiful in the group settings is everyone kind of gets to hone in on this one person. That one person is actually on the camera, you know, and the feedback I always get is, in this focused container, that person is a mirror for everyone else. So I think you can trust, as you're working with the group, or a single person, it's going to serve everyone. And as you're working with the group, just trust, just let yourself build your own intuition by all the feedback you take in, the different things you're seeing on the screen. You have skills as a teacher, and just to be able to follow that instinct. I mean, if you want to go down this route, like, you let spirit guide you. That's cool. It always works in perfection. So, and let yourself learn and let yourself make mistakes. And you don't have to take care of everybody also too. Ooh, you're really just taking care of yourself in that situation. Let it go. Do your work. Just do your work, and people will come to it in the capacity that they're ready to. Yes.
I had a question, which is, how do you, or have you worked through sort of changing your approach to work that might be movement-based, or like, is there a process you take to transpose work from the actual to the, is it just about getting into a psychological space of connection, or is there a way that you make that transposition?
I mean, I think the psychological space is true, but I think for anyone listening to this who's trying to figure out how to teach, I think you're just going to have to go through what that is for what you're teaching. You know, like literally, okay, I have to practice this room or this class in my kitchen. I think it's a different energy to, like, even again, like what I said earlier, even seeing all of you and then reminding myself, okay, I gotta like, let's take a 3-minute break to like be in our rooms. That's a good one. You know, let's watch everybody improvise. Let's have this person go and then this person go, like, you know, and like and then when you go, you can't, like, don't pay attention to what it looks like. You know, like, we're going to watch you in your space. It's like, it's a different level of witnessing. But in terms of like the technicalities and whatnot, I can't really speak to that so much. I think each person is going to have to figure that out. I mean, there's so many things. Oh, yoga, Pilates have been online forever. dance classes, they're probably out there somewhere too. Does that answer your question, Jared?
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
It's great. I love it.
Anything else? What's up next?
Are there any questions that are coming in from Instagram or Facebook, or is there anybody watching this on Facebook or Instagram who wants to ask some questions?
And are you able to see all those comments and whatnot on Instagram as
Are
well?
there comments right now? I had
just,
to like turn my phone. It's a whole situation over here, but I can't see them right now, but I can look.
Yeah, I'm not seeing any specific questions on Instagram right now, but
I think I have like a half-formed question.
That sounds great.
I'm curious as to this is just coming out of my recent experience with sort of a newness to being one of the hosts of an online platform of something that I've never, can you hear me okay?
Mm-hmm.
Something that I've never seen before, which is Freeskewl as it is right now. And I'm noticing sort of the difference. I'm hearing you talk about do your work and put yourself out there and develop a following. And what does that look like when it's you putting out your work as a teacher and as a facilitator or a healer versus an organization and kind of the flux of an organization, especially an organization or a platform rather, that's specifically for other individuals to come through and present their work and their practices. Where is that sort of, as someone that's in the behind the scenes work of a platform, where does my fear work come into play? Because I'm navigating different things that I didn't foresee around my own fear, but is that separate from the platform itself, or is it, does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so.
Thank you.
So the question about how to navigate your own, like whatever's coming up for you in relationship to building a following or connection through your own work versus supporting this platform. Is that essentially kind of more, I mean?
Well, as we sort of step into different versions of organizing group connectivity and curation, or quote unquote curation, sort of, we're not organizing in spaces now, we're organizing in some other space. So
I kind of hear, and you can tell me if this is off, like a value conflict around doing your own work versus supporting an organization. Is that true? Like just figuring out how to balance those?
Yeah, less conflict, more balance. Yeah.
I would just say, what do you want?
I knew that's what you were going to say.
Sorry. It's going to ask you to get really honest. Like, why, if you're supporting something where you feel a little bit of resentment or like, is this right? Like, that's where your work is. And remember that what you want is possible. And it just will require that you have to sit with some limiting belief systems that are running your life right now and that aren't true, but they've been set up to keep you safe up until this very moment. So the question that you're actually asking is actually the symptom of, you got it? Yeah. Woohoo! You got it. Okay. I see a question from Tyler Ray. Can I talk about this one?
Please.
So I'd be curious to hear Michelle talk about staying connected to intuition while facilitating online. Oh shoot. Okay. Let me just see if there's any more.
Laila has a question as well.
Okay, cool. So I'll answer this one and then we can read that other question. Let's see, what do I have to say about that? I guess all I can say about that is your intuition isn't bound to time and space. Like to be able to trust your sensitivities as a feeler and as a person who can read body language, movement, hear the consciousness, the intention that's behind the question. Hold on, and fun ways to be transparent about. Hold on, I got to see your other question. So I don't know if that's a clear enough answer for you. You just stay connected to the elements, but also trust that you're going in with an intention to connect to, if you're working with a larger group, to connect with this group. Let me see if there's anything else here. Again, it's what's moving through you. And I feel like just as a teacher, the thing I can teach with most truth is the thing that's resonating with me with most truth. Like I remember I'd have a plan taking the subway to teach class in New York, but it was like, I'd be like doing the transfer at, what's it called? Lorimer, Metropolitan. What is it and just like tuning in. What is it that's resonating for me that I want to share? And then I think I'm just talking about teaching in general. And then you go in there and you see what you're called to in the moment. Let me know if that answers your question. And then this other one about fun ways to be transparent about consent via virtual platforms, like anyone can always turn their cameras on or off. In my context, I say sometimes people want to have their cameras off because they're not ready to be on camera. And I did that too. I was like, ooh, I'm in this class about how to earn more money. Do not see me. Bye. It was like, I was like, I'm embarrassed. So I think we can acknowledge that because, hey, there's Jared's kitchen. Hey, there's Marion's bedroom. Like you're going to see a lot of stuff. And then you can also set up your boundaries. I don't know if Zoom has a function where you can kick someone out. I'm sure someone can Google that if something becomes inappropriate. Again, you can set up the containers for your class and say it at the beginning. And I think you're going to come up with a lot of different ways to be transparent about consent. I think I assume and maybe make this evident in my classes that we're all here because I'm working in a healing context, healing together. We're here and I think I do this even in my live classes. We're here to support each other as a community. We're here to grow. Like there is a perfection to this gathering right now. And it may not look perfect in the trials that you go through, but it's here to teach you and to give you more life so you can keep growing. Let me know if that answers that enough or if people have other questions.
Laila's question was,
yes.
I'm curious about working with ongoing groups and how something like, quote, community, unquote, might evolve through this work, question mark.
Consistency. I think you need to keep things, you need to keep showing up for people. The monthly mastery series I developed was because I led a 4-week course and people wanted to do more. So I was like, okay, we're going to do more. And, it will bring up for you, if you're building your own independent platform, you have to sell the thing that you're doing. You don't have movement research marketing for you. So you, or whoever it is, so you need to be out there, asking and then work on whatever issues come up for you around receiving. Let me see. So I think it's, you can set up, not everyone likes Facebook, but you can set up a private Facebook group. You can put comments on, if you have a website, do you have an option for making a comment page on there? Can you send people the private, can you make a page on your website private and send people only people in that group, that page? So the comments remain, they have a container. And again, you're always operating on trust. But I think that's like kind of what we do when we don't make people sign a waiver form. I don't know if, I keep going to movement research because that's where I've had so much experience teaching live classes. You don't sign a waiver like in a yoga studio. Maybe they have something on their website. It's a different time and age. I have something on my website for stuff like that. But I think it's like community happens when you continue to show up. Like, a lot of ideas can sprout out. It's just like a business. You're like, I'm going to do this, but you have to keep showing up. And are you committed to actually sustaining this? Is it continuing to serve your community, or does it have to evolve somehow? And just to say, like, from firsthand experience, I think I'm in my third quarter of working with my monthly mastery series from a class I did in August. And maybe there's actually only one person that has been in every single quarter consistently, but it's beautiful. Like, she understands the process that we're going through. She's there to hold space. She's there in a committed way. Other people come in. We've committed to this container of 3 months. I'm holding space. I'm interested in these people. I do Google intake forms. This is more from like a healing coaching thing, but you can do this for your dance classes too, if you need. Like, what are people needing right now? Or everyone send me an email that you read before you teach your class, if the communication lines aren't open. So, I mean, that's different from class, but if you want to open up that space, so you dedicate the 15 or 10 minutes before your class to reading what people wrote to you. So you can check in to how people are doing there. And then you also have a platform for feedback, follow up with people. This has been happening through the larger organizations. If you're doing it individually, it's just, you see, okay, it's like, for me, the metaphor is like from the transition of being the dancer to the choreographer. It's like, oh, wow, look at all the things that actually made this thing run. So I think decide for yourself too, do you want to be doing this on your own, or do you want to be doing this in conjunction with another organization? I'm just going to answer a question from Hopesicle on Instagram. What are some of the advantages that you find in the digital space of teaching, being together over being in the physical room together? It's super convenient. And she also is saying that she's not hearing all the questions, but hopefully you heard that one. It's convenient. You don't have to travel. My courses are set up so that I do them through Zoom. I move the video to Vimeo or Dropbox, or the audio to Dropbox. And then from there, I put them on my website. So people can, if they can't join live, they join the course later. And you can still ask people for money to do that. But there comes a time and place where we need to be live in a room with another body, I feel. And I think we will cycle back to that. I think we are cycling back to the importance of that more and more. But the feedback I get is that people enjoy the convenience. And like my courses are set up, some of them are set up that people have lifetime access to the material, as long as I'm still in business and the internet is around. I mean, can you imagine someone looking at it 40 years later? I don't know about that, but it's going to be there if I'm still here. That'd be amazing. There are I'm thinking about other ways to ameliorate that issue too, but just FYI. Other questions? You're welcome.
I'm so interested in how witnessing, it's like a very different kind of witnessing. That's been my experience, is I can't feel quite as much of the sort of physical change, like the pheromonic changes that happen in a room when you're in the same space. Mm-hmm. But there's a different kind of witnessing, like you said, of seeing somebody in their context and in their, I'm interested, like I know in your healing practice, witnessing must be a very important part of how you're reading. So I guess I'm interested a little bit in what you feel has been refined through this.
I mean, I would say personally, I think just a path that I've been so interested in working with as a dancer is consciousness. and this came for me, I wrote a blog post about this in my old blog, going to an Agnes Martin show, you know, it's just like a bunch of, I was like, do I need to go to this show? It's just like a bunch of lines on big canvases. And I ran to the gallery before it closed on the closing day. And I walked in the room and I was like, holy mamacita, this is amazing. And that was like working in Body Talk and knowing that we're working on a consciousness level. Like I've been on tour, and I remember I was in Chicago. I did something, I think I was performing with Miguel. I like hurt my ankle a little bit again. I called my practitioner in Kelowna, Canada to do a session on me, and I could feel my ankle heal. You know, like, so I am coming from that perspective. That's been reality for me, and doing that with so many of my clients, which might seem kind of wackadoodle, but so I'm operating from that space. I think, Jared, I think because this is in reality such a different format, that it helps to have like breakout times. To be like, okay, 3-minute pause, like dance in your room, pick up an object, like, you know, like do whatever it is, like, here I am, feel my chair, like, but not to you, like, I'm going to be with my chair. It's like, you just have to guide and trust that people within their own respective containers are going to follow. And if they're in a place where they're like doing that a little bit still, that's fine. We're all in a learning curve. And I think, again, like this thing of transitioning people to close, like it's a container to like close the call. It doesn't bleed like dance class where you can like continue the conversation in the hallway. So to close the call with that awareness, you know, with those goodbyes, with the acknowledgement that, hey, here's a way you can continue to connect, like via the Facebook group or whatever the container is that you have set up. So people can, like, again, this thing of building community and continuing, because it's a hard end. It's like, bye, button, see ya. You know, it's like an instant like, or an instant, it's kind of the age we're in. So I think we are developing, I think, emotional tools to navigate that. Does that answer your question? Okay. Looks like there's some people there's a question from Helen about exploring possibilities of online performances for groups that are no longer able to meet in person.
Yeah.
It seems like that's a good one for folks to, if you like, so this is going up live on Facebook, right? So people can, I think if people have resources for that, that would be a good one for people to type in. I went to a party in San Francisco the other night via Zoom. I only had to stay for 18 minutes for the whole Donna Summer song. And then we had it all like with my friends here. Then you can leave. That's convenient, you know? But there's so many things that are happening. Just do your Google, like and all those organizations, like the performing organizations, I think they're doing an amazing job of trying to figure out how to make it work. And I think we just have to trust. It's not like the performing organizations are going to be like, we can't do it now. Screw all you artists. They're here to serve us and they need us. So I think like the more we can support a collective rising of creativity, the better. And if people have stuff to share, say go for it. There's a question here. What is arising in your personal artistic practice right now? This. Working with consciousness. That's what I like to do. I'm not seeing any other questions on Instagram.
Yeah, were there any other questions or from our panel, or just thoughts, or didn't have to be related to, you know, just whatever's up. We're all together in the room. We might as well talk with each other.
In the gallery.
I think the only other thing that I had written down was this question that I've been feeling a lot, is this sense of waiting, that because nobody knows how long anything lasts in this environment. And I don't find that to be a productive place for me, the waiting place. So I guess it's just this kind of feeling of like, how committed can I be?
How committed
can I be to whatever's happening right now? Because I don't know how long this is happening. So
I think so. If you didn't hear it on Instagram, Jared's question about being in a state of waiting sounds like that's somewhat uncomfortable, and how committed to be in relationship to waiting it out, I guess. Is that what you mean? Or to like changing your platform, or?
Right. I guess changing how committed to. Some people are in a place where commitment isn't a choice because they need to make dance classes happen. Mm-hmm. And they need to make them happen right away. Mm-hmm. And then other people are in a, like, for instance, I have a contact class that I teach, but it's not a big part of my money stream.
I think.
And I love to teach. My question is, do I commit to developing an online teaching practice? That's not my question for you. But my question is more about this feeling of like, does this last until the end of April, May, June, July? And how does that,
let me call the universe. I'll let you know.
Experience of waiting play on our practices, sort of, I guess.
I mean, Jared, I wonder, like, so how does this experience of waiting play on our practices? I wonder if you can just treat it as an improvisation and just trust, like, you will know when to go. You will know how long you need to commit. You can do contact with the chair. If you don't have to, let yourself rest and let everyone else rest. We to try to maintain structures as they are out of a place of fear, I think we can let that go, because there is a gift in this time to see how we can change things. And then I would ask you the same question I asked Anna, like, what do you want? If it gives you life to do those contact classes, then do them. But we are in a place where we really don't know. We don't know what's next. We don't know what's coming tomorrow. For me, it's been really supportive to just focus on what I can do now. The thing that really, I mean, I can't tell you, I spent some change, to make that free class happen, but it gave me so much life. And know that as you are supporting, you are also, it is an investment in your future. Like, people will see that and they'll want to support you back. They'll want to fund your festival. They'll want to continue to come to your class. So it's like, what do you want to commit to? What is the thing that is keeping you sane right now? And if it's like, yes, let's take a rest. I think the hardest thing we can do for ourselves is feel guilty about it. For those of you who have no, quote unquote, have no choice, I would say, I don't really believe that we don't have a choice, and that could be a whole other 4-hour, 5-day discussion. But look at the choices, because you are making choices all day long. You have been making choices for the last several years that are creating the reality that you're living in now. It's the law of cause and effect. But I think there's a person I've worked with in the past, and, through some of the work that we did, this person told their university class, this is a couple months ago, hey, we don't have to read that book anymore. What are you subscribing to you must do this and 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 this to be a person of value. You just be Jared. Truly, truly through and through. And I think it's inevitable if you go into enough self-inquiry around it and are committed to connecting to your purpose, you'll be inspired to keep doing things. That's much better. Woo, woo. Yeah. You don't owe anything to anybody. That's a big one too. I think that we find, especially in our sort of barter community, sometimes, oh, I did this, but let yourself give freely and let yourself receive freely. Those are really, really big skills that I'm working on too. And then also just going back to what Jasmine was saying about boundaries, like let yourself feel your boundaries around rest, around asking people for money for something in this time. Let the other person decide, I'm okay to pay this money to you right now. And I think for dancers too, I think to realize that there are some folks out there that want to pay money. You just have to ask and then be willing to open your hands like this so you can catch it. I think the abundance, or the truth is abundance. There are so many opportunities in this. And if rest is your route, that's a huge opportunity if you can do that. You might wake up tomorrow ready to rock. Or next week or next year, I don't know. Rapunzel.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We have time for one more question. If anyone online or here wants to ask. Nothing?
I don't see anything on Instagram.
All right. Well, I guess I just want to say, I'm sure all of us want to say thank you so much for taking the time. And I want to thank Marion for being this like quiet force of momentum happening right now, at least in my experience around Lions Jaw and around helping teachers or having these questions being asked. And also Freeskewl, which is doing such a great job. And for people watching and people participating, it's really important. There are links to Michelle's PayPal and Venmo accounts. Please be generous to the capacity that you can. It's a sliding scale situation. But we really want to support each other in this time. And I feel as a space holder, it's really important right now for all organizations, no matter how small, to step up and act in a way, if you can, to not put the artists in a position to have to ask directly, because it's just a nice service that I think organizations can hold to like help artists by asking that for them. So that's just a thought.
Yeah, and I also, can I add on to that, Jared? I think it's really also very empowering for artists to ask directly. And I think to really learn how to do that, because it opens up our capacity to receive. I remember, what's her name? Cynthia Hopkins. She is a performance theater maker, artist, whose work I saw. I haven't seen her work probably for 10 years, but I remember she was talking about like going into this meeting where she was going to ask for like $30,000 to do her show, like so nervous. And then she did, you know, she had, this is again, the place to grow. And sometimes I think if we're waiting for someone to ask us, we're waiting for someone to throw us the bone and we're not stepping into our adult that says, this is what I need. And again, not from a place of defense. I mean, I think it's a beautiful gesture. Like, how can I help you? Because not everyone is ready to do that too. But I think it's also a beautiful thing to admit, hey, I need this right now. Can we figure out a way to make this work? And if you don't get it there, go somewhere else. I mean, that feels like a law of honor what you need, let people know. And if it's not coming from that particular location, start knocking on another door. That's like a relationship thing. And also, I'll just say this, I am doing free healing sessions every Monday at 1 p.m. PST. Time zones. 1 p.m. PST, 4 p.m. EST. The first one was today, and you can look at it on Instagram or here. I don't know how long it stays up on Instagram. But go ahead and look at that. You can look at my free Meditate, Move, Heal session. That was from last Tuesday. And I am doing a course. I did turn it into a monthly course. And if there's anyone on here, I don't have a coupon. I do have a coupon code set up to get 50% off for March, which is MMH March 50, capital M, capital M, capital H, March with a capital, the month of March 50, and it's one word. And maybe that can be put in the comments, but I'm, you know, if people do want to do that as a sliding scale, I almost feel like I would prefer people to come into that space if you do want to give and be able to interact in that way, or give to one of these organizations here, or one of these fellow artists, one of your fellow artists about, you know, support them. I am not in a desperate time right now. I'm being housed by my amazing friends here. I think it's good for us to be realistic about how long we can sustain the reality of what this is. To call, like, you know, this guy, David Nagel, who I've been following and working with, you call your landlord and say, I can't pay this month's rent. Let them deal with it, whatever they feel like, and say thank you and goodbye. You know, it's like, we will be, just trust that there's a creative solution. But you have to call. It's not like, oh, I hope my landlord knows I can't pay my rent, or my phone, you know, it's just like, get on the phone, have a conversation. We need to connect directly. Yeah. Just to see one last question. There was a question on Facebook about liability for online class injury. That's something that you just need to write into your own terms and conditions or agreement, that you have people check off somehow if you're worried about that you are not responsible for a person's actions in their life or in your online dance class. Let's empower people to see the choices that they are making and how those are creating the effects that they want in their worlds. And of course, you can guide people, like make sure your sharp furniture is out of the way, like don't flip into your table. This is an advanced class, whatever it is. Yeah.
Marion or Freeskewl or any of the other, anything you wanted to say?
I'd like to say thank you to Michelle deeply for giving us this hour and giving us this information and your time. I very much appreciate it. I've learned a lot, so thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else? Think we're good? Hey, let's practice. You're welcome. So we can practice. This is how we end online. You could, like, a nice thing to do with Zoom is you unmute, and everyone can be like, hi, bye, blah, 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 blah. People, you can leave your thing on so people can write their thank yous. You can say, my live video ended, maybe because it was an hour on, that was the fast ending.
Just as you want your thank you.
Still live on
take these out now. So yeah, like we say goodbye. I think for me, I like to hold this space in my heart and like acknowledge I'm going to transition. I'm going to walk out this door. I'm going to talk to my friends that I'm living with right now. Whatever, like maybe you set an intention. What do I want to do next? I'm going to drink some water. Drink some water. Online stuff, all this EMF shit, you got to drink some water. Yeah. All right, you guys.
Thanks, Michelle.
Thank you so much. Have a great evening.
Thank you so much.
All right, see you in some other context.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.
1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3.